what's up?
Should we talk about something?
Yeah.
We should probably talk
Welcome.
about something. Huh?
Said welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to this edition of First Turn Talks. I'm coining that. Where we always talk, but see First Turn Talk. That's
Yep.
That's the new segment.
We took some time off.
We did,
which wasn't expected, but it was so busy at Adepticon. We would have
recorded, but we'd never had time to. So
no, we were busy as hell.
It was a lot of fun though. We were in the new location, which we really enjoyed. I actually
like that new location.
Thinking more about it, it feels more like a convention, right? It feels more like a living thing as opposed to Adepticon before felt like this is tournaments with a vendor hall, right? Because we were kind of tucked away before in Schaumburg, where the only thing going on in Schaumburg was that. This, we're, having it be in downtown Milwaukee, it feels like you're in a city with other things going on and everything is hopping and everything's happening.
But yet the whole city is aware that this is going on too.
Right. Yeah, we had to explain it to quite a few people, though, on the street, even what was going on and why there were so many people.
Our very grateful Uber driver one day was like that. Yeah.
Yeah, really funny. But I heard they locked in for a 10-year contract, so they're going to be there for the next decade, which is really exciting. I look forward to it.
That's exciting. The food around there is pretty good, too.
That is... So Adepticon previously was always in suburbs, and so if you wanted food, you were getting in a car and you were driving somewhere. This being downtown, it was always walking distance.
Yeah.
Food, drink, whatever.
I mean, you almost loathed leaving because before it was like, oh well, gotta give them my parking spot at the Schaumburg Renaissance. Yeah. Good luck finding a new one.
Go drive 25 minutes.
Everyone pile in, 7 people in the car, 6 people get out when you arrive, and then one person drives around for 20 minutes waiting for a spot.
Yep.
Been there multiple times. So.
And you, Dracoya, had been away for a couple of years. And now you got to come back. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what brought you back?
I took a hiatus, and now I'm back with a vengeance. So, well, can I tell them the good news?
Yeah.
Yeah, what brought you back? What were you doing
there? The big news? Okay, so the big news is that I am now the sole distributor in the United States for Kimera Paints.
Which is awesome. Which was previously covered by you, too, though. In a different way.
It was Kimera was previously covered by Scale 75 USA.
Right.
Which I'm no longer affiliated with them. I haven't been affiliated with them for a couple of years, which is why I took a hiatus out of our community. But I'm a big believer that what goes around comes around, and karma is beautiful and terrifying.
Kimera.
No.
Ha!
Kimera. So anyway, yes, I completely agree. I think putting good energy, good vibes out there, generally, if not directly related with you getting good things, makes you receptive to good things.
Yeah.
And makes people want to work with you. So I mean, I think there's something to it.
And I know it happened to you kind of on short notice, and so there was a lot of uncertainty. But then you got to the convention. And why don't you walk us through a little bit of how it ended up going for you?
Well, poor Llama, you and I have talked in the background a lot. And so you've had to go with me on this entire emotional journey before Adepticon even happened. So thank you for that. You're wonderful. And as far as Adepticon goes, so guys, it was such a mess to begin with. We weren't even sure if we were get our product in on time. Oh,
what a story though.
That was. It was like Wednesday night, and you're like, "Oh, it's not here. We don't even know if we're gonna get it."
Wednesday night, I call, and they're like, "Hey, your product is not going to be there until maybe Monday." And I'm like, "Yeah, that doesn't work for me, though." So we talk it out, and the thing is that there's all these different customs that are being established right now that weren't established before. So getting in anything from outside of the United States has become turmoil. So Wednesday night, we still don't have our product. And Thursday morning, we still don't have our product, okay?
Adepticon is now... Yep.
You see the doors opening, will they? I don't know.
Yeah. And we're just sitting there like, okay, what do we do? So I, being me, I game plan and I strategize, and I have some other options, which aren't Super great. And then a miracle happened. Around noon on Thursday, I got a call from a driver who said, "Hey, I'm here to deliver your product." And I went, "Oh my Lord."
I remember you and Pietro, and was it Ricardo, or who was the other gentleman with you?
So there's Ricardo, Francesco Farabi, Ricardo Agostani. I'm probably butchering their names, so I'm so sorry, guys.
Lovely.
And Pietro. Yeah.
And you guys like literally celebrated on the spot when you found out you got product. Like,
they were dancing. I don't know if anyone's ever met Italians, but they were literally dancing. They're like, "I saw the paints and now I'm a believer."
and because until then you guys were just like, you were selling the miniatures that Kimera offers, which was fine, but it was like, you know, the action's all about the paint at the end of the day and the new brushes, and didn't know if it was coming in, but by noon on day one, that's not too bad. Like,
right.
No, it was a freaking miracle. And I told Pietro, I said, "This is just the universe trying to test and see if we work well together." Yeah. And now that it knows we do, we're good.
In Pietro's face, whether it was a panic or whether it was elation, was only differed by.
I adore that man so much. He's now my favorite human. When we weren't sure if we were getting paints in, he was, "I am so frustrated. I am really freaking out that we may or may not get paint." And then when we got the paint in, everyone else is doing the monkey. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I am very excited. This is good news."
Yeah. It was great.
Just nothing but fact.
Just.
I love this man.
And then it ended up pretty much to the wall from that point on. I mean, from open to close, you guys were busy. And you were doing your thing, and you got to move paints, and you got to talk to some stores. And
what a great experience. I got to meet so many amazing people this last weekend. I got to talk to a bunch of different stores. So here's what we're doing differently with Kimera is we want to rebuild the community, because we know that they unfortunately got a bad rep for being a little difficult to get a hold of and having their products in. And that's not really the case. There were other things going on in the background that I can't name, but there were other things. And it's all very different now. And I want to reestablish our relationship that we have with the community. And I feel like the community needs to heal a little bit. So what I am focusing on as the distributor for Kimera is focusing less on partnering with people just with numbers and more about partnering with people who have good hearts. Because I am a very big believer that love brings love brings love. And what I want in the community is I want to partner myself with people who are inspiring and kind and helpful, so that people who are coming in from the outside in, they say, "Oh, wow, I've never held a paintbrush before, but this person was so nice and made me feel like I could do it."
Yeah. And I heard you, speaking of that, people who maybe are new to the community, it's like Kimera paints were kind of known, but only like among a lot of the veteran painters, because it was closer to an artist quality acrylic than it was like like what you see in a normal hobby dropper bottle type thing where it's pre-diluted. And so they can be tricky to work with, or people might not be used to them. But you were talking about things at the booth with your dancing friends about like a way to make it more approachable to the new hobbyist. Is that something that there's plans for?
There is. I can't say anything right now, but we do have. We do have some really fun plans that are going to help people learn how to use our paints a little bit more. But there's also so many tutorials. I'm partnering with a lot of influencers. There's going to be classes all over the nation. So if you're listening to this and your store doesn't carry our product, talk to the owner, have them reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation with them. And, maybe we can get another painter out there. I want painters to be using our product and sharing in their knowledge of how to use them. And yeah, Kimera, it has a small learning curve, but that's really all it is. It's a little bit of a learning curve. You may not get it right away, but once you figure out how to thin your paints and how to apply it with your brush, it is beautiful. And the blending that you're going to get with Kimera, I don't believe you can get anywhere else.
Yeah, I know it took me a minute, and depending on which color it is, they might behave a little different. But now it's like second nature because I've used them enough. But not only is there a learning curve using them on their own, but one of the neat functions I found with it, and I don't know if this was its intent, is because it's pure pigment, I've been able to combine them with other paints to punch up the vibrancy or even change the coverage of another paint.
Right. Which is where, which is another thing that I guess we should talk about is that it is pure pigment. And so like Kimera paint for a bottle 1-to-1, it's a little more.
It's a lot of paint.
But it goes a lot farther.
Yeah.
You know, it does. Like I can't tell you how many times I've gotten other name brand paints and used them for a session or two. And I'm like, I'm out. You know, like that's the end of my pot. I ran out of paint.
And that's my favorite top even is the flip top, but with a dropper under it. I feel is the least fussy anyway. The brushes though are brand new, which I hadn't used before, and that's like a new thing to Kimera. But you brought some there. I got to use one. Thank you. I got to use one in the painting class I took, which was a high detail class, and it was a non-traditional brush. If I'm not allowed to talk about it, I'll let you.
No, you are allowed to talk about it. I'm so excited about the brushes. So Kimera brushes, unlike most of our competitors, they're going to be completely handmade in-house. So they're going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get a hold of. But man, if you can get a hold of them, they're so great. And one of the reasons they're great is because of the consistency of quality, the fact that they are Kolinsky stable, and the structure of how they're made. So some of them are actually made in the shape of a pyramid or a triangle, and it's going to have a flat brush. And so you're going to be able to put eyes on a 28 millimeter miniature because that point is just, ooh, so
and
good.
that was what was, you know, holding it in the hand, it was weird because you're used to just rounds, right? Or when someone does a miniature series, they do the very tapered head, but it's still round and doesn't hold much water or paint. Right. This had sort of the cat's tongue style artist brush where it was like wide and flat, but it still came to the super sharp points. So what I found in the class I was taking, which was a texture class, and we had to do super fine lines, was I was able to still get the same sharpness out of that point that I needed to get really fine detail, but it held so much water and paint behind it that I didn't get tip dried. And so, but that also helped it hold its structure really tight. So at least with that brush, that size that I used, it was a great first impression. It'll be one of my regular daily drivers, I think. So. Yeah.
I created like the thinnest lines I've ever seen in my painting history today, and it was a size 2 triangle or pyramid brush.
Yeah.
Hey, I have one of those.
Yeah. I had the 0. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, but it's like I will also say that with the shape of the brush, I mean, you also need to be cognizant of how you're using it. I mean, that's with every brush, but you don't notice that until you become more experienced with painting, right? When you start off, you're like, oh, it's a brush is a brush. Use it however, ruin them, you know, like that's how, you know, buy a cheap brush because you're going to ruin it. This is one where it's like, you know, you have to keep usage, how you use it in mind, the direction you're painting it. Because with it being crimped and flat like that, I mean, you can't just like, I wouldn't stipple with this brush, you know.
I wouldn't try stippling.
I wouldn't.
Now
I probably
I'm going to try stippling.
Because it's like I got other brushes that'll do that just fine. I probably wouldn't do it with this one, but it's not like you can't 360 paint with it necessarily. You'd want to be more careful and directional and control with what you're doing.
I think pressure would be key.
Loading and pressure.
Because of that size and shape of the head. If you applied pressure wrong, you could get a real wide.
Yeah.
But
which you might want, which is I think is really cool. You know?
Exactly.
It's very versatile. I'm excited to try your guys' rounds too, but it's another.
I'll definitely send you guys a round whenever I get more stock in, and we'll talk. But I am also excited. Can I announce our little thing that you had to jump through hoops for?
Oh, you're going to tell me now what hoops I have to jump through? All right.
You don't have to jump through hoops. I was kidding.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want fire, please. A hoop with fire. No,
badass that would be.
It would be. I would probably just swim dive through it, and then my pants would catch on fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
I am
would that make
so
me a liar
excited.
if my pants were on fire? All right, go ahead.
I'm so excited to tell your viewers that you guys are getting an affiliate code.
An affiliate code.
An affiliate code.
So what is that? What does that get us?
So it is going to get your viewers 10% off of everything from Dracoya.com. So go to Dracoya.com, sign up for our email list. Product is coming, and it is coming very soon. So make sure you're signing up for our email list and use your affiliate code. And
whatever those will be. Yeah.
We'll figure that out. We'll post it in a minute.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we'll post
thank
it.
you. I will take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys were one of the nicest people that I met 2 years ago. And I am so happy that I got to be on your podcast a couple of times. It was 2 years ago that we first met. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of our friends was a store that got to have some of your products, and he was super excited. The day he brought it back, he didn't even have it on the shelf yet. Someone bought the starter set and some of the brushes, like while he was sitting there.
Well, because that's the thing, is like you said, it's something that people do like, and they when you know it and you've used it, you like it, you love it. And getting it before was difficult. We had trials and tribulations trying to get a hold of support, trying to get a hold of product, trying to get a more of it, and it's like that was kind of a speed bump that.
And I had some from like the original starter set, but it was like a 5 or 6 week wait. And then but we have this like designated table in the store that's like the painting table. And so sometimes we're sitting there using, and people would ask us what those paints were. And then when they saw what they had to go through to get it, they were just
awesome.
Like,
is it over here on the shelf? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Can't.
Mm-hmm. I am so excited.
You want to borrow mine?
No, I don't think. No.
We're not that good of a friend.
Yeah. We're a community, but we're not a community.
Yeah. Well, speaking of painting, there was a certain competition that happened, Llama.
You didn't participate in that one?
One of the bigger ones. I did not submit anything.
Oh, what's that one? It's
the silver muskrat.
That sounds right.
Bronze potato. A golden demon, which has gotten some publication. Remarkable event. It's interesting is like I think the high end of that competition gets deeper. Like every year you can walk away and think of something. We'll talk about favorites and whatever, but every year you can walk away and be like, one of these categories maybe was weaker, and so people try to target it the next year. This one, it was like, no, you were like 5 deep at least in every category of people who could have award-winning entries. So that was fantastic. I also think they were a little snug with the judging this year, like that like notable, which was the first award level, the bronze pin, which I love those new pins, by the way, the bronze, silver, gold pin. That's a neat way to do it. And then, but I think they were a little more snug with like how far down they went. So it was hard, but I entered a piece into the Warhammer 40K single, which is always a category that has like 21 million entries. And like, I did pretty good. I got it commended, which is like the silver tier.
So not finalists, contention for a trophy,
right?
But the next category down.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was, I mean, all the ones that were finalists were, I don't envy the judges. I would love to know some of their thought process, but they just kind of like, when you talk to them, they just kind of nerd out about everything. They, very British, like, oh, I love all this stuff, but I don't envy the judges. That's hard. When you got to narrow it down to however many finalists and then down to 3, that's tough. But yeah, my piece did pretty well in a deep category, and then a lot of people took notice after, which was a surprise.
And you even had a judge come and tell you that yours is one of their favorite, or was your favorite piece entered in that category.
In that category, yeah.
Which is neat.
The pickup process. So the drop off and pickup process was really smooth. They did sort of a bank teller line kind of thing, and then, but I go up there and I hand them my ticket, and someone runs away with the ticket, but then
and steals your model,
and talks to me and throws it away. They have the trash can right there, but no, a different guy comes back with my piece, and it was one of the judges, and he's like, I just wanted to tell you that, and then he complimented my piece. So that felt pretty good. I mean, to get commended in a super deep category when you had maybe doubts about your own figure or what you would do differently, and then to come away with that and those compliments, and then like artists were talking to me afterwards, and then social media people randomly posting my figure. So I don't know. Feels good. It gets me
Mhm.
excited to think about the next ones, and I've already got
2 Space Marines.
2. They'll face each other.
and they'll be 8 inches apart.
Yeah, just.
The composition's important, and we need to get better.
Is that
at
a Dr. Seuss story where the eastbound guy and the westbound guy, and they stop in the middle, and then they don't move, and the city builds around them? I'll just have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, talking about a previous submission we had where it was 2 really good single figures painted. The composition was wacky.
Yeah,
we had them way
way.
too far apart, and it was just a bunch of empty space. So that's another thing we're getting better at, is composition and like storytelling in a very small space.
Yeah.
That I think will up that sort of quality of the submission.
Well, look how simple a story can be told. I don't know if you, Dracoya, saw Andy Wardle's piece.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Which was the warrior coming back after like defeat in battle, and he's just got his head resting on the horse.
He's holding the horse's face, like thanking the horse.
How simple was that?
Yeah.
But it was like goosebumps. Like that story was so good. And since it's a model competition, I don't think that was going to be like a sword winner, but it told the best story by far.
Because like most dioramas and whatever are trying to show a battle.
Yeah.
Right? Action pose, 2 guys fighting each other.
They did someone jumping through a window.
Something sneaking underneath unsuspecting people, things like that.
Someone throwing a water balloon.
Someone using the restroom. Whatever it is. This one was so simple, and it was sweet,
Yeah.
And it's just like that's a great story.
And
so different.
And compositionally, even the way he framed it, where he made a tree that doesn't look like a tree because it's just curled like this weird licorice root thing, but it framed the picture.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of like half moon shaped.
Yeah.
Where it kind of like curled up and around the pear.
Yeah.
And it was just.
But it made like a rustic frame for the shot.
It was really cool.
Which was phenomenal. That was one of my favorite pieces. Did you have a favorite? I know we had a couple times where we walked, which, let it be said, in this new event center, it is way easier to navigate the Golden Demon cases than it was before.
Yeah. What's a line now? Instead of it being a horseshoe?
Yeah, it was a horseshoe, but in an area that only had like 3 feet on either side, and there were cords running, and people were always hitting it in a way that was comical but dangerous.
Yeah. I think I saw 3 or 4 people fall off the railing and die.
Just, which I tried to make a diorama of that.
Yeah.
Just,
I think we almost had that happen with too much to drink at Adepticon.
What? We couldn't even bring drinks in there.
Yeah, how did that happen?
For the record, Wisconsin has a lovely Bloody Marys.
Which, you're talking to someone who, I only had Bloody Marys when I was younger, and it was just vodka and ketchup is what it felt like. Yeah. These were meals in a cup, and they were delicious.
Yeah.
You get a slice of bacon, you get 4 different kinds of food groups in there.
There was one that had a lobster tail that I tried,
Yep. Wild.
Yeah. That was a messy one, though. That was like your fingers were sticky, but it was really good.
There's a layer of just solid butter on the top.
So someone should do a Golden Demon entry that is just a Bloody Mary, but they sculpt it.
I would love to open up my own competition, which, who knows, maybe in a year or two, that as Dracoya grows, that'll be more in the works. I think that there needs to be more competitions like Golden Demon outside of Golden Demon.
Right.
I'd like to see that more.
Because there's so many other models that aren't Games Workshop models that are phenomenal, that just aren't valid.
Well, and to that, I think sometimes the competition itself lacks the prestige, because one thing about Golden Demon that gives it a certain prestige is how hard it is to actually win a Golden Demon. Because while they do have their merit system with the notable commended finalist, actually get away with the trophy is so hard. Which
that commended system is newer, by the way.
It is newer.
They've had that only for a few years now.
It was loose and kind of like who got a pin, we don't know. But now this was structured. I really liked it. But a lot of other competitions that permit other models, like Gen Con General does one. I think Nova used to have one. I don't remember what it was called. But they allowed all brands of models. But the award system was super, like everybody gets a participation award. And I think it's fine to reward good stuff no matter what. But then, like, how can you give it that edge? How can you make it feel like such an accomplishment? And is that like kind of what you think Dracoya Con or whatever you'd call it would be?
Something like that. Yeah. I have some ideas. I can't speak too much about them yet, but give me a year.
Okay. Do we keep her on longer and see if more drinks will make her tell us the details, or?
You said that part out loud.
Oh.
No. But I mean, there were at least 3 bigger painting competitions present.
Yeah.
Which usually when Golden Demon took place, it was like the only one for a while. And then the smaller ones like the Resin Beast, and I think I don't know what it's called. Something of Champions, the MCP one.
Well, now it's the Worthy or whatever it is. It's like who's worthy to lift a hammer because the awards.
Right.
Mjolnir.
Trial of the Worthy, something like that.
So
where
let
it was
me
a
ask
third.
you guys a question.
Okay.
How do you both feel about prizes for competitions?
I'm for them.
Like cash like
prizes.
rewards,
Yep.
like that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like if Golden Demon said, the top 5 finalists got $1,000.
Oh.
What do you think about that?
Well,
I think it's an unnecessary incentive to enter. I think part of that is to try to get more competition and better competition to enter, because then you have a real incentive to win.
Yeah.
P3 did that for a while. They gave cash prizes, and it was because they were kind of struggling for entries. I think they were struggling for quality entries. Some categories because they did a merit system, the highest award that you'd get in a category for best in that category was a silver, a couple years there. So I think that while it's a nice incentive, it is like,
well, so,
it's a starter incentive.
So here's one that did both, and that was the one that was at Adepticon before Golden Demon came back.
Right.
And it was Crystal Brush.
Right.
So the Crystal Brush, which was run by Cool Mini or Not, would do, you could use minis from any whatever, and they had categories. And they would do like the top 3 in each would get trophies. Like they would do a cut merit system, but then the top 3 would get trophies, and then there were cash prizes for those. And then they would do a best overall.
Right.
Who would get an even bigger cash prize. And so that was an incentive. Golden Demon already gets the incentive without the cash prize, but it did look like there were people who did get prizes for winning.
Sure.
So I might it just be product, but
I do like that, right? So like the way that Gen Con did theirs is they had like sponsors, right? Where like because theirs was a general one, you could submit for anything. They had categories for like different companies, and then the companies would sponsor, and then they would choose their best from their model line. And so there was that too.
So for example, if you painted an Infinity model, like from the Infinity game by Corvus Belli, you would enter it in sci-fi single, but then Infinity as a sponsor would give prizes out to whichever Infinity model in the entire competition they thought was the best one of theirs.
Right.
I see.
So it was really cool.
I like that better.
Yeah. And Creature Caster does the same thing. It's like you can enter one of their big demony monsters in the fantasy large, but then they'll award some prizes to whatever they thought was the best of their own minis.
Right.
So yeah, because then you don't even know. Then the award system is different. Like there's a sub award system. So even if you don't win a Golden Demon, maybe that particular piece really spoke to the manufacturer.
Right.
Right. Which is neat. And we have to say, as first turners, we have actually won the best in show for Creature Caster 3 years in a row at Gen Con.
Well, yes, we have.
3 years in a row? So you're entering something in Gen Con this year too?
We have to.
Someone from our team has entered a Creature Caster figure in the Gen Con General. Yeah. That while it maybe only got a ribbon or whatever, a merit award in the Gen Con award, Creature Caster nominated it as their best in show, and so they got $200 whatever store credit.
And so we'll have to do that again.
So we have to enter it again because someone from our thing has to we have to defend our title.
I hope that you guys have it on the wall somewhere, like somebody's picture and like a certificate or a date.
I mean, we thought of that. Of course we did.
It's in the case, right?
Somewhere.
Oh God, guys. Just drink more and more ideas will come.
No, I actually, at the case of the store, I actually have some hardware in there, but it was not for painting. We took
for the tournament.
Yeah, we took third place at a team tournament a few years ago. On a whim, we signed up for what was it, War Machine doubles, and we got third place in it. And they gave us a little medallion, and they
looked like a cog, right?
Yeah,
like
I was like, I'll put that in the case. Make it look like
at our one of our cases, which we need more case room, I think, in the store, we do have like some of our awards in there, but we need to that streak for Creature Caster Best in Show.
I mean, the top shelf is all the Golden Demon statues.
It is.
So we got some from years past.
Yeah. I can't find where one of mine is. I think my parents have it.
Oh my goodness.
Lost it.
It's probably
yeah.
It's an ornament.
You know what? Next time you win a Golden Demon, just give it to me and I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
Next time
Next
I win.
You have won before.
I have.
That's
But it
part
was
of the affiliate code program. If you don't continuously try to win them, then
Right.
I don't know if we can hang out.
That's how we keep
Wow.
the affiliate code. Oh, this guy got close and people posted his mini. Now he can get an affiliate code. No, but to that, I find it, maybe I'm unique in this, but I find that when I get close like that, and then artists are talking to you about your piece, like it ends up motivating me. I don't feel like, oh man, I fell short. I mean, there's like some of that, but
Screw this, I'm done.
yeah,
that kind of thing.
to me, it was the opposite. It was like, well, I can see maybe where I missed, or I then look at the pieces that finished ahead of me, and that just inspires me to think of the next thing or what I can do differently in my approach. Because I know you get.
What do you think you could have done differently for this last entry?
For this particular piece, so I know they claim they don't take the base into account in those categories that are not diorama, but like the base was fine, but it was just fine, and so I think I could have done more to make it psychologically, like the background, as simple as it was, actually visually ended up effective, but the base itself was a little muted. And the model itself isn't really muted. He was pretty vibrant. Also, I had started the mini like 10 months ago and then put it down for like 6 months and then picked it up again. So I had actually developed some new like techniques along the way. And so I could tell at least that when I got to like the right side of him, I was much more effective at making a smooth finish on the armor than it was where it was painstaking for the first time. I think I could have done a little more to make his face was clean, but I think the collar ended up brighter than his face, and so it took away a little bit. The shield ended up really weathered looking, which the rest of the model was very clean looking, and that might have, even though they loved both people, even though they loved both parts of it. I think stylistically maybe that was a touch of clash, unless you have more of it, right? Like look at the Slayer Sword winner, which was breathtaking piece. The bird was so soft in earth tones, the mount that the guy was on. The rider was bright and blinding as the sun. But the way he made it work together was like the feathers, the light went in towards the root and drew right to the center of that guy. So mine, I had the very weathered shield, but it was way over here to the left. And so I think it was very asymmetrical, but that's just me being critical of my own part. So there might have, go ahead.
You bring up some good valid points. I mean, I think it's important to be critical to an extent of your own work, because this is how you grow. And but it does make me genuinely sad when I see people who just put down their brush because they're not good enough. It's like, well, I think the thing that I love about this hobby is there's always room to grow, no matter how far or low you are on, I don't know, the talent spectrum, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's even why I took classes. Like a lot of now I heard mixed experiences from people that some of the classes felt very beginnery. And then I didn't have that experience, even though he was teaching a very basic, sorry, dogs are doing something. Even though he was teaching a very basic thing, he could tell when he came around to my table that like I was understanding this basic thing. And so then he pushed me to do something more. And so that's how I went in, was just like, I'm going to go in like I know nothing and learn something. And so that's what I took from the competition, was like, yeah, I see shortcomings. I'm happy with my piece and he's done. I'm not going to go back to him and try to touch him up and put him in.
Submit him again.
And friends even said that when I came back. They were like, oh, you think if you punched him up? It was like, well, to me, it's like when a comedian finishes their hour and they do their special for stand-up. They're like, a lot of times then they're done touring with that material and they start working on the new. Like you have to kind of like learn from that, leave it there as a reminder, and then do the next thing with that as a starting point, and then better, if possible.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah. So I'm already thinking about my next projects.
I took a class and I loved it. I had a really great time. One thing I've been focusing on skills wise is my non-metallic metal and my freehand. I really want to do some freehand pattern work, which, by the way, if you've never taken Francesco's freehand don't panic class, loved his class. But he and I are very different, I think, in our styles of how we would approach things. Not that I love his style. I think his style is very useful for certain projects I will have going forward. But I am more of an engineer by trade. I prefer symmetry and lines and structure and grids, and that just
so if you play a city
joy.
building game, do you design grids and divide everything in half and then what's your... Okay.
Yes, and I hate city building games because they very quickly, I very quickly lose control of the layout, and it brings me such stress.
It's like, wait, I need
residential. Crap, I need more residential.
One street,
and it's just like this blob you
yeah.
slap on. It's like...
And when I would play like the Sim City, like the left half would be residential and the right half would be industrial, and I would try to and it just it would never work.
So what were you able to get out of that class then, even though you thought very differently from the instructor?
So Francesco Farabi, it was not the class that I anticipated it was going to be. I thought it was going to be these grids and lines and these freehand thing. It was not. It was better in a lot of ways. So he had us design our own shield. And, as like an example, he painted a goblin's face on the front. I painted what did I do? I did a heart, which my freehand is not good. He has a lot more talent than I do right now. But I have to say, as when I was using his technique as somebody who has no artistic ability to sketch, it wasn't horrible. I'm okay. I'm pretty happy with it.
You hear by the octave in her voice, it went perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I try to convince people of something I really believe.
Yeah.
It turned out better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, I've done that. I mean, just on my own. I just when you try something new, it's like that, where it's like, oh man, this is gonna go awful. I'm out of my depth here. This is what I normally do, because that's part of it. Yep. This isn't what I normally do, but that's a good thing sometimes, to try new things. And then you try it, you're like, okay, and that was a good first try.
That first time, it just is but you gotta hang in there until you find that zone, and then practice, right?
And I think I'm at the point of my painting journey where I'm starting to establish the foundation of my own personal style. I think that at this point, I've got most of the actual methods down, most of my blending techniques down. Fundamentally, I've got a pretty good grasp. And now I'm starting to explore different types of styles. Like, how do I play with the color wheel a little bit more? How do I add in a little bit of freehand flair? How can I adjust my non-metallic metal so it looks sad instead of happy?
That's a really interesting way to put it, but I think I get what you're saying though.
Adding mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Does he look like he had coffee today? Or that non-metallic metal looks like he still needs an hour of sleep. It's
he looks like he's a guard in the rain.
I have a piece that I've been working on for a while that I haven't posted on social media because it's a very political piece. And Llama, I think I mentioned it to you a couple of times. It's a very political piece, and so I didn't want to post it on social media because I don't want to get into politics when it comes to our hobby. No, it's just not a good place to be. But at the same time, emotionally, this piece says a lot. And there is some armor in the piece where I want it to look like sad. I want it to look like this armor, the person who's wearing this armor is almost in mourning, like as his soul is in mourning.
To you, do you think that, I guess you don't have to explain, but like, would that be, I could see desaturated. So like think of, or dark, I guess, if you're invoking like the thought of a funeral. But like, I guess when I think that too, I think of even how they film things like Band of Brothers, where it's filmed in color with like high def camera, but they desaturated all the color to give it that like, what a sad time for the entire world kind of feel.
Right.
And it always brought the mood down just a bit. Very effective.
So I took Riccardo Agostani's class on non-metallic metal, and he spoke about that a lot, about how you can change the saturation of metal to impact your emotional state. And you can make it more happy. So it's going to have more tints of red and orange and a lot of these brighter colors. And then you can actually create it to be a lot more sad. So you'll have more bits of blue and green hidden into glazed over the metal itself.
Yeah. And there's definitely with like non-metallic gold, which can be tricky for people because a lot of times you're operating in yellows, which don't have great coverage. There's the warm version, which will be from red brown up to a warm yellow. which will be happier,
Mm-hmm.
and it will reflect oranges where gold is facing gold. And then if you use an ochre, which has hints of green in it, it'll be slightly colder. And I could see that invoking a sad, or a lot of people will use that for like models that are chaos. They'll use a colder gold instead of a bright, happy, stormcasty gold.
Now, do you think that's because you see the environment reflecting in the metal? Is that
so? That's different.
Does it?
That is different. So that
I know you can like actually do reflections, but like just the general mood of the environment that you're in. If it's cold and sad,
that can contribute to it too.
It changes the color of you.
That's a contribution, but that's not necessarily the entire story that we're talking about. I see your wheels turning. Hyena.
He did win a cog.
Yeah. Third.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that whole subject? That was that? Okay.
Oh, it's something to think about. Let's take a minute.
Thinking pose.
Anyway.
My drink's empty.
I'm going to sneak off real quick.
Yeah. So when you perused the Golden Demon, circling back to that, did you have any that were like favorites, or do you?
There was one that played with light that I really, really loved. So he had one model in front of a window, and the window looked like it was bright and sunny. You know the one that I'm talking about? And then you had another model that looked like there was more of a moonlit glow coming from it.
Yeah.
I loved that model. I think that one was my favorite. I love the idea of playing with light, and I'm not there yet on my painting journey, but I am genuinely looking forward to incorporating more overcast shadows and more ambient lighting into my pieces. I'm really excited for when I can get there.
Well, the cool thing about that is like it's a different part of the journey, because the mechanics you have down, and it doesn't take secret mechanics to do that, right? Then it just becomes like understanding light, and then we have to exaggerate it because we're working on these tiny spaces. So that's something that I try to work on also, is like understanding concepts and composition, because I feel like the techniques are there. Now I just have to figure out how to arrange the thing and arrange the mood, or play with light like that, or two light sources in that case. Like that can be tricky.
But that hallway piece you were talking about, where it was a hard shadow person was being cast on the wall, and the other one was like holding a torch. No, it was like holding a torch, casting a shadow of themselves. The other one was like in moonlight, window glow. It was like two very different sources of light.
Beautiful.
The same piece. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, this is really cool, but as two pieces, a little bit, you know? So
I think that it could have worked as one piece. And I only realized this a moment ago when you guys were talking about your piece that was two characters too far apart. Is I think that his could have worked, but it needed to be closer together. And there needed to be something in the middle that incorporated both of these concepts.
So I'm guessing, was it on the far right? Was it in the dual or diorama category?
It was at the very end.
Yeah. So you're right. I think it's like how a chef tries to arrange a plate where there's 50 ingredients, but they tuck it into this little space on a plate. Like with dual and diorama, you have to tell a lot and kind of shrink that space, because all that open space just reads as like dead air.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
There needs to be something interesting there.
Yeah.
And while like the whole scene was cohesive, right? Because it was just it was a consistent hallway. It was like there was no visual interest there.
And I think if you do separate them, what she's talking about, the two wildly different light types, where it's like, well, you got moonlight, which itself is reflected and cold, and then like a torch, which is right there, casting just that flame flicker on something. That's fun to play with. So I hope you get a chance to tackle that soon.
And both of them were done really well. They were both very convincing effects of the type of light. Like it was really good. It was well executed.
And even if you do light that might not make sense, one of my favorite pieces was in Warhammer: The Old World, which was the Chaos Dwarf Wizard riding atop the Taurus, which got gold in that category.
Yeah, the sculpted one.
Yeah. And he 3D sculpted it, which they allow as long as you sculpt it from scratch. But he played with light where he had the regular ambient light above the piece, and then underneath it was like a pink magma-y glow instead of a traditional, fire glow. So I don't know, playing with light like that, it's just some people can really.
Yeah. But again, I think you can take it too far. I mean, there was a stint there where everyone and their mother was doing the orange right, blue left on like dioramas and and busts and stuff, where it was like, all right, I get it. 2 different light sources, 2 different directions.
Yeah.
And then the first time you see it, it's like, whoa, that is super cool. But then you see it a few more times, and it's like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
because after a while, it just started to look like they were like taking orange paint through an airbrush on the right side and taking blue paint through the airbrush on the left side in the end. Now, NMM Gold, I know you've tried to work on a lot, Dracoya. You had a tall figure, I don't know, is it an elf? But it had armor that was like, that you were working on gold on there. Was that piece finished?
I think you're talking about the one that I was mentioning.
Oh. Okay.
Was it the one where he was carrying? Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not at all. So a lot of the times it's okay. I made truly that okay. So a lot of the times I don't always post every single thing that I paint. Sometimes it's really about the journey, and I may print the same piece, God, anywhere from 2 to 8 times, and I'll paint it and I'll be like, nah, this is garbage, and I'll throw it out and I'll be like, all right, let me do this again, or I'll take a class, or I'll talk to a friend, and I want to be a faster painter, because what is happening right now is I'm at this weird pubescent stage of my art where I'm growing. My understanding of my skills are growing faster than my pace of output.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So like you were saying, you put something down, you learned some things, and then you came back to it. I think I need to be moving a lot faster as a painter, which I don't know. That's just, I guess, my flaw. We've all got our burdens to bear.
Well, same. I mean, how many pieces have I started where I did the face, the left shoulder, and then I put that piece down?
Yeah,
all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yep.
It's where you start. You begin there. And
I love the faces,
come out
so
from
I always
there.
do the face, and then I get a little going, and then like, okay.
No, I know what you mean though. Like even within a single model, I feel like sometimes I'll start. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing with this, but I'm trying something. And then as I'm going, even by the time I reach the end of the model, I'm like, oh, I got this down. Now the beginning that I started with looks like crap compared to this.
Yeah.
You know, because like I developed this skill within a single model, not just like within a year of painting, within a few hours of painting.
Yeah, you can get in a zone on a model where you figured something out, and then at the end you're like,
this is just how you had things you were doing. We were like, oh, I paint skin. That's what you do a lot of. And I know. Yeah.
I love it.
You got to the point where you're like, well, I've painted skin so much, I've developed a way to do it that's so much more effective and takes about 1/10 the time.
Yeah, so it's one thing that I can do fast is skin. But I guess practice.
But that wasn't just practice. It was also developing an effective trickery sort of method of doing it too.
And a part of that was I started ignoring the idea in my head that it was skin, and I was just looking at the structure and then thinking of how it behaves with light. So it came down to shapes, and then you add the nuances that make it the detail it's supposed to represent. Like especially when you're doing the difference between like a feminine face, a masculine face, a rugged face, an old face, a young face, like. And so, but at first I just like did the structure. I thought of the skull underneath it, and then that's how I would block it in, and then I make it whatever.
Yeah,
I got a lot of compliments on his face. That was a
I highly recommend people go to museums and just stare at some painting. Like just walk around until you find a painting that you really like and stare at it for 45 minutes. Just stare at it, because it will pop out at you. After, you'll look at it for a minute and you go, okay, yeah, I got it. But then you'll look at it more and go, maybe I don't. And then you'll look at it more and you'll see some other things, some brush strokes,
you'll even ask questions like, why did they do that? Like,
yeah.
And then you like cross your eyes in a secret message.
Magic eye, right? Then the image comes out. Yeah. Look through.
Exactly, just like that.
Well, so something you said that popped out there was when you said you might reprint the same figure 2 to 8 times to work on it, and like talk about that being kind of a luxury, because back in the day when you got a spot on a figure and you weren't happy, you had to strip that damn thing, and that was a pain in the butt. And now it's like, and that still happens if it's a GW model for a Golden Demon. You're not. You want to buy 8 of those, like good on you. Yeah. But the fact that you can take that 3D printed thing, it costs you pennies or whatever to print, and now you're like,
$couple bucks.
I didn't like that. I don't want
Yeah.
to strip it. Now I got to do another one.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely a much more
Which can
sustainable way
which
to
can
practice.
help, which can help you,
know.
yeah, practice more productive than wasting, expensive figures you bought. I've been now using sprues of all things. Where like just what
I like
Even
free
what?
models that are given to you. Yeah, you don't even cut a part out of a sprue. You just use the plastic frame with the part on it and just paint it. Practice.
I will practice
Because they're extra bits. You get a model that comes with 4 heads. Well, you got 3 heads extra to practice.
Right.
On.
So like if you buy like a Space Marine Scout pack, that it makes 10 dudes, but it comes with 19 heads. So like I'll take those extra heads and put them on a paper clip or whatever and work on faces just with the extra heads.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or I'll actually take a piece of sprue, the frame, cut a little bit out and just work on my straight lines going down.
Well, that's just insane.
Well, that was something did you teach me that at Adepticon? Like one of the times I got to see it, you mentioned warming up before painting.
Oh,
Is that you?
yeah. So I took this really great class from Brush for Hire. So I have terrible ADHD. It's debilitating, and of course I don't want to be or can't be medicated or it's life. So I'm raw dogging it through life, and I've got ADHD.
She said raw dogging it through this discussion.
And as a result, when I can finally get in this state, it's great. But getting there is a journey. So what Brush for Hire taught us is
Just don't stop believing.
he gave us a small miniature and he gave us 3 colors. It was legit, just 3 colors.
Yep.
And he said, paint. Just do whatever it is. Don't worry about the goal. Don't worry about what you think. Just look at it and paint it. And with these 3 colors, how you feel like it should be painted. And it's not speed painting, but it's kind of speed painting. And his logic was that, when you're a professional athlete, you warm up. And Llama, I think you were talking to me about this. Even scholars, they warm up by writing something before they actually sit down to write their piece, or reading something before they really sit down. And it helps the brain just kind of get into that mode. And I think that class was not, I think that class changed my life for that reason. It's become so helpful to have those. And now I'm actually I'm able to put out a lot of small miniatures that are kind of like tabletop ready throwaway models that really only took me 30-40 minutes to just paint real quick and give it to a friend, and then I can focus more on the thing that I need to focus on, which was so nice.
Yeah, now you're warmed up. I remember actually I had gotten my insurance certification once a long time ago. That's right. And it was funny, is the most useful thing I got out of that, because it wasn't insurance, was they taught you for some reason how to take a test. And I was like, what do you mean how to take a test? Don't you answer the questions? And it was like, they would have you read through the first page of questions, but don't answer any of them. And so you'd read through the first page of questions, and then you'd actually start the test on page 2, and then you could come back. But it like warmed your brain up to being in test mode, and it got you thinking about the material and
like
so,
for the SATs. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that same kind of, that was super valuable, because now it's like, I'll grab a throwaway thing quick and just get paint down to get in the zone, and then you can focus on the thing you want.
Yeah, I definitely was able, I think halfway through that class, I was like, I'm happy with this. I'm done. I'd really like to paint this other bust that I picked up earlier today. And I did, and I picked it up, and funny enough, Brush for Hire remembered me for that reason. And I was like,
oh, you're the one that broke the rules and didn't listen to the instructions.
Didn't do shit.
Oh, God. Francesco and Ricardo both know, like, the last 30 minutes of class, I think I taught somebody wet blending at one class, and another one I broke off and started, like, looking through art online. Like, I'm the worst student.
And the instructor's up there just a little bit like, whatever.
They got paid. I learned a thing. I wrote it down.
So there was another piece that you had been posting, a bust.
How?
Was it the lady with the fabric?
Yeah,
right?
The shawl.
Yeah, the fabric. That.
What are you doing that one for?
Well, so
what are you doing that one for? No.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah. No. What are you doing?
I was going to be teaching a class on it. Unfortunately, due to reasons I can't talk about, I will not be teaching that class anymore, which breaks my heart. But I would love to teach a class on it again. Regardless, I am actually published now in a magazine called Mad Scribe Magazine.
What?
And
Is that you on the cover?
no, you perv.
It's just blurry. I can't tell.
Oh yeah, for sure. Your fade is like okay.
Okay. Oh,
There we
yep.
go.
All right.
Yeah, so it's Mad Scribe Magazine, and I can give you the links for the magazine, but I'm published in here. And he puts something out once a quarter. He's got comics and stories and small snippets and ads and like helpful ideas for painting and cosplay and miniature highlights, just so much. So even though I'm not going to be teaching a physical class on this right now, I will be
Teach a spiritual class.
I will be publishing in this magazine.
Hey, there you go.
I'm very excited about it. It's really exciting. I've never been in a magazine before. My dad was so proud. He has one on his fridge.
It is cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Are you still mostly only working on Super Secret, You're Not Doing It project, or what are any others that are on the desk of Dracoya?
Oh my God. So I have a couple of different ones. So we have the bust that we had just talked about. We have the Super Secret model that I probably will not post until I am done with it, just because it is so controversial. I have another one where I painted a pirate a couple years ago. And now that I've looked at it, now that I've looked at the pirate bust from a couple years ago, I'm like, man, this is garbage. So I have to repaint her because I have a second one.
Okay.
I think that every 2 or 3 years, if you really want to see how far you've come, you should get a model, nothing that's too extensive, nothing that's too elaborate, but get a model and every 2 or 3 years, repaint it. And I think you will see just how far you've come, and you're going to feel a lot better about your journey as an artist.
Well, and I think not only will you have improved technically, but there's going to be little things, even like you're probably going to do some of the same, even if you do the same techniques, they'll be faster.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have like more accurate light placement. You'll frame in things, maybe better understanding of the color wheel. Although I see people who teach the color wheel who break their own color wheel rules all the time.
Yeah. I see
doesn't
that
make
a lot.
sense.
Color theory is like spin the wheel. Okay. So I don't know.
But except in this situation, you don't use color theory. You use this other color. It's like, why? Explain that.
Yeah.
Why do you break the rules in color theory? That's the more interesting thing I want to know.
Was that one of the classes you took? Because you keep forgetting which classes you took.
Okay.
Well, I did take a class on color theory. It was not at Adepticon. It was at LVO. I took a class on color theory with, I want to say his name was Chen.
I don't think that's a name.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It is.
Chen?
Chen.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Chen. I could be totally screwing this up. I'm terrible with names. But he was a fantastic artist, and I really loved his class on color theory. He got to explain the grayscale value in a much more fundamental, easy to understand way. He got to explain how to highlight without any white or black, how to highlight and shadow without white or black, and how to figure out light placement in general on your miniature, because that's something that a lot of us really struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came up with a really easy technique that I think anybody can do if you can hold a brush. It's really great. I highly recommend the classes. I think the classes are 50% of the reason I would go to any of the conventions. I really love the classes, and I'm looking forward to seeing what mischief we can get into at Gen Con.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And when do we get I don't know when the event list goes up. But they have to have classes there, right?
I got a badge. That's all I know.
I got a badge. But the classes were something that I didn't attend at any of the conventions for years. And then I went to one that was a green stuff one, but it was it was a guy showing you how they used to do it in the 90s, and it kind of
made a feather.
I made a feather, yeah. And it was okay, but and he was mega talented, but he only had an hour to do this thing. Yeah. Whereas this painting class I went to, I felt was super valuable, because even if it's I know how to do this base stuff, it was like this person, we had 4 hours. This person's mega talented, and I was able to learn something from them anyway. And so I think if you can, it's worth the money. I mean, not just because you get like a mini you get to take home, but like you're getting really valuable knowledge and experience from somebody, or perhaps more importantly, a different perspective on something you may already think you know.
Well, you were even pushed beyond what the scope of the class was looking for. Like when you were doing stuff, the instructor would come along, which I think is a sign of a good teacher too, is noticing that like, well, this is too far below this person. You've got this. Why don't you do this other thing now? You have a special assignment in the class. Go further.
And that's
so you get the value of the class, not just like here, do exactly what I'm telling you to do, which is something you already know.
Yeah, and I didn't say that, and I went around kind of bragging. I didn't mean to sound like I was like patting him, but he's
like, yeah, teacher told me to do extra.
Yeah, because like I said, I went in like a dummy. I went in like with a blank slate, but I did it, and then he was like, okay, don't follow the actual physical structure of the fur. How about you do this? And he said that to me, and so then I would do his thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think a lot of those, depending on the teacher, can be super valuable if they're in it, if their heart's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a good teacher.
That's also the kind of people you want to be learning from, that you want to be surrounded by. It's the people whose hearts are in it.
Yep.
People who are passionate about it.
And those are the only people that I'm giving affiliate codes to. I do have some other people who have a lot of numbers and they've reached out to me, or I've been told that I should reach out to them. And I'm not interested based on the reputation that I've heard within the community. It's not about numbers. I know that our society values how many followers you have. And if you don't have X amount of followers, then you're not even worth listening to, and you're not even cool. And who are you? But guess what? Just because you have that many numbers doesn't mean you're a good person. Doesn't mean you're a nice person. Doesn't mean that you do what you do out of joy and out of love. And that is what's so important. Is I've been made fun of from people who had far more followers than I have. And
I feel like, in fact, we've seen plenty of examples to the contrary. Just awful people having gigantic followings.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, just because you have the numbers doesn't mean I want to be anything. I don't want to have anything to do with you, you know?
Yeah.
And this is her nice way of saying that even though I don't have many followers,
right,
I can get an affiliate code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Justification.
Yeah.
Not for us, for them.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in that love begets love. And if you do the thing that you are most passionate about, everything will work out. And I think I've been saying that for years. I said that the last time I was on this podcast, and now I'm the distributor for freaking Kimera. So, I mean, I gotta say, I think I might be onto something, guys.
Well, speaking of that, and I'm sure my affiliate code will be funny. People will click on it, and there will actually be hoops they have to click in the center of to get to the discount. But
the button moves as they try to click on it.
It moves, and it's a hoop. Yeah, and then the last one, it's on fire, and if you click it, it does the operation sound like you hit the. But
Hoops by Llama 10.
Yeah.
Oh.
But so where can people find you and all the Kimera goodness that you have to offer?
Not physically, though. Where can
Don't dox yourself. Where can they find your stuff?
Dracoya.com. DRACOYA. Dracoya.com. Go there, sign up for the mailing list. I have paintbrushes that I will be posting within the next couple of days to sell. I have paints that will be coming in the next couple of weeks. I have miniatures that are coming. Everything is coming slowly but surely. Be patient with me. Be excited. Be on board. And yeah, just spread the love, man. Be nice.
Well, and as far as that, I mean, they had to be patient to get Kimera stuff before, but for a different reason. Now they're going to have to be patient at first, but now your stuff's going to be here. And so people are going to be able to get it from you. The miniatures I hadn't had the chance to play with, but now I've got one. I got a 38 or 35 mil version of the elf on the cat. I can't pronounce the name.
That's all that one.
Yeah. And they also make versions of that one that are huge, like that are like 75 mil, which is not something I've dabbled much in. But I'm excited to try the new paint set I got, the Kimera set, on it. And then I need to get with you about that set that was available only at the con.
I am asking about that very particular set. I'm trying to track it down.
If it's not available anymore, that's fine, because I know it was limited.
Well, can you get those 6 paints individually?
I don't know.
Okay.
They were unique, right? They were completely unique to the Kimera line.
Unique.
Yeah.
They were so unique. They were so different. I am trying to see what I can do. I'm also working with Africa, who is Kimera's lead sculptor. She is probably the most talented woman I have met in the industry. First of all, I just don't see a lot of women in our industry, period. Then, like, this woman, she's a sculptor, which I don't see many of those. She's the minority of the minority of the minority. And man, this woman is so talented. I am not a sculptor, but I took her class and I found her class to be so inspiring. And the thing I love...
5 classes now? Wow.
I'm a terrible student, but I like to learn, okay?
Yeah. Well, in those sculptures, so this is the first like Kimera figure that I've ever had. And the detail on it is incredibly sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, it's resin and there's not a lot of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It is like still sort of the 2D style where like the details overlapping instead of like negative space.
Sure.
But the finish was incredibly clean. There was almost nothing that I had to modify. Like there was like a bend in one, but that's resin, so I had to heat it. But no mold lines. The gaps were very minimal, lined up nice, and then it took the primer coat real well. So I'm excited to get some paint on it.
Yeah. So the way she sculpts is she really sculpts things with life. And there's one that I'd be happy to share the link with you. There's a druid woman, and she is, she's got like kind of like a bikini top, and she's not very clothed. But as I was talking to Africa about this model, she doesn't look sexy. Like she might be in something that people would perceive as kind of sexy, but her stance, the way that it's sculpted, she's a druid, she's holding this giant staff, and she's in such a proud state. And the way Africa described it is she's not dressed this way to please the male eye. She's not dressed this way to be sexy. She's dressed this way because it's probably the most efficient way for her to dress. And this is her choice to dress this way. But you can almost tell when you look at the model itself that what is going on in this woman's head has nothing to do with the way she looks. She is clearly focused on a goal. And I really want to see more people paint her so I can see what kind of goal that could be.
You'll have to send me the link to that because I don't remember which one that is.
I'll send you the link. And that's why I really do love Africa's stuff, because when you hear her story, when you hear her speak about her models and her vision for them, it's inspiring.
Well, and her sculptures, from what I can see so far, are very painter friendly. Whereas like some people can sculpt, but then they like make it really busy or crowded. Mm-hmm. And her figures all had nice, like there's textures on them, but there was nice space for the painter to work and to create very dramatic effects. So yeah,
top secret information here that I will not reveal to anybody else.
Yeah.
I've had enough wine. We can talk about this. See, you were right. Just keep getting me alcohol.
Yeah, this will be the extended portion of the show, the premium part of
it. So top secret, her husband actually works in our industry, and he is a master painter. And part of the reason that she sculpts the way she does is because she has such an amazing partner that she can play off. And they use their talents very adjacently.
That's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could think about the types of effects he would want to create. She could think of the types of mood she's trying to set with the piece, and then like, yeah.
I mean, talking about like the ultimate power couple, I think that's probably got to be my goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and now, do all of those sculptures? We're just going on and on. Do all of those sculptures have both versions, like the small and large version? Okay.
No, not all sculptures have a small and large version. Only some of them do. And there's a lot of different lines. So one other thing that I want to bring to the United States market that wasn't here previously are the historical models that are sculpted by their sister company, Pegaso. So Pegaso was the one who actually started Kimera. So Kimera falls under Pegaso. And I am bringing in a lot of the Pegaso models soon. There's going to be some samurais, there's going to be some cowboys, there's going to be a lot of knights. So for
Ninjas?
those, you know what? For you, I might.
Anything that's?
Well, you hit like the four. Yeah, the four main things.
Is there going to be anything that's like Greek or Roman, like ancient, classical?
Oh, yeah.
That's my.
That's your thing. That's your thing. Is it because the skin work?
No, it's something about the antiquity of.
I just like the
Rome.
antiquity era.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it,
yeah.
I can take a look. If it's an option, I'll make it available.
Now, will these also be available on your website? The miniatures? Okay.
They will. All the miniatures that are going to be coming in the next few weeks, they're going to be available on the website. Paintbrushes should be available within the next day or two. And paints are coming, people. So don't worry. It's coming, I promise.
They're coming. All right. And then as far as your individual work, can people find you somewhere too?
Yeah, Dracoya Minis on Instagram. That would be Dracoya Minis on Instagram. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I talk more about Dungeons and Dragons with my best friend, Matt the Pickled Dragon.
Dungeons and Dragons, what's that?
Yeah, so you guys got Warhammer covered. We got the other half covered. Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
I think there's a lot of space. I think for miniatures to.
Mm-hmm.
Soon I will be posting more videos on miniature painting itself.
Yeah.
That will be coming soon. I'm excited about it.
I have a lot of thoughts about D&D. We play it,
We did.
But,
why don't you guys come on sometime and share with the class?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I love that because I've DM'd, I've played, I've done world building, I've done miniatures for it, I've done scenery for it.
Everybody knows this.
Everything, everywhere.
Everybody knows this. Yeah.
Oh heck, if you guys are free next week.
Awesome. Same time next week.
Same time next week.
That'd be fun. Yeah, let us know. We'll get together and talk it out.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll talk to you in the interim, as well. And then that code, if you would, whenever you get a chance. So that'd be awesome.
Behind the scenes hoops.
Yeah. Well, you gotta come on the D&D thing to get it there.
Right.
These are the hoops.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And this was great. We should do this again very soon.
You know what else we should do?
We should probably eat.
I should probably eat too.
Yeah.
That's